Awesome. We'll kick it over to you, Savannah.
All right. Thanks, y'all. I'm excited to be back. I got to be with the Midday Connect crew last year. So excited to talk about the thing that I've gotten very obsessed with the past couple of years, and that is that a founder is the most valuable asset that a brand actually has, but it's often the most underutilized. So the past several years, and just for a little background, I'm the co-founder and CEO of the Breezy Company. We're a scalable marketing solution for small businesses, startups, and solopreneurs. So we're an agency mostly focused on content, websites, and video production. And with that, over the past 7 years of owning that company, I have more and more seen the shift towards founder-facing brands getting a lot better traction than those that are hiding behind a logo. We're going to talk about a few client examples and things that we've tried, but over the past couple of years, from compounding data that I kept coming across, anecdotal evidence, my own investment in my own personal brand and the effects that I saw on it, and then actually trying the strategy out with clients and seeing really, really great benefit. I really believe that if you want to really take your company to the next level, especially at the small business and startup level, actually putting yourself out front, investing in yourself as a founder is the way to do it. Trust in institutions. We were just talking about this in our breakout room. Trust in institutions is lower than it's ever been, but trust in individuals is probably higher. That's why it's really interesting. I think a lot of people were predicting a few years ago the influencer market bubble would burst, but it hasn't because people don't really trust logos at smaller levels. Sure, you trust the Apple or the Nike swoosh, but when it comes down to a small business or startup, the most trustworthy person that is in that business is the founder. The founder gives credibility to the business. That's the person that has the knowledge and the experience and the subject matter expertise. So we want to shine a light on that person and help them step into being the most valuable asset they can be for their brand. So I'm going to share screens really quick and take you guys through a few things and present here. So all of this is not to create content for content's sake. It's not to become an influencer. It's not to just be visible for visibility's sake. All of that is just not worth it. But building a personal brand that actually helps grow your company, brings trust, visibility, and opportunity, that is worth it. We have moved out of a funnel world and we're in a trust economy now. That is really how the market has shifted so dramatically. And I'm seeing that every single day in our work. And this is a tactic that can help really kind of double down on that idea. So this is sort of my thesis, if you will. Your personal brand, you also can use personal brand, you can switch it out with digital presence. They're kind of one and the same now. It's either working for you or against you. You are an integral part of your business's ability to get trust, opportunity, and visibility. And you either are helping towards that or you are hurting it. And it's one or the other. Silence is a signal, just like activity is. And even if, someone comes across your LinkedIn and sees it and there's nothing there, they might not necessarily one-to-one associate that with your ability to do good work in your business, but they don't know you and they're not going to be able to trust you. And if they come across another business where the founder is out front and they are producing content and they are appearing on podcasts and they are doing talks, all of a sudden it's, oh, I know that person, I know what they're about, and I know what they value. And that feels safer. That feels like somebody I kind of know, whether I actually really know them or not. All of a sudden, this becomes a much easier person to trust and move forward with. So, people don't separate you from your business. They judge you both at the same time. Make sure it's something that that you actually feel proud of that they're coming across. This happens to me pretty frequently. We'll get a lead for the Breezy Company, a call. I'll see the person's name, and an hour later, I'll get a notification from LinkedIn that person has viewed my profile, thanks to LinkedIn Premium. And I'm always proud of that. I'm never worried about that. I'm actually excited. I'm like, good, they went and saw what I'm about. They see the credible information that I put out. They see the thought leadership I have. And if they still want to get on a call with me, that sales conversation is going to be way, way easier because there's already a baseline of trust that's been built. This isn't just my opinion, though. There's a lot of evidence to support this. I have just under 20 data points that I use pretty frequently when I talk about this, but I'm going to show you six of my favorites that I really believe kind of drive this idea home. 82% of people are more likely to trust a company when their leadership is active on social media. Makes a lot of sense. You get to know them a little bit more, whether you actually know them or not. You feel like you are more connected to them, and it makes it easier to move forward in a buying process. 60% of decision makers say that thought leadership content directly leads them to award business to a company. And 74% of B2B buyers say that thought leadership from executives helps them know who to trust. And again, this is kind of what I'm talking about. If you have two companies, company A, company B, company A, the founder, the executives, the leadership, not active at all, they don't put any content out. Maybe there's some company content, but it's kind of behind a logo. versus company B, their leadership's very out front. They are creating original pieces, they're appearing on podcasts, they are out in the digital world. That becomes much easier to trust because you feel like you actually know that person. They're putting real information into the world. Then you look at Gen Z behavior, and let me just say that if you think about the age of Gen Z, the oldest Gen Zer right now is 29 years old. And while that's still early in your career, they're getting into management positions, they're getting in decision-making roles, they're becoming stakeholders. And then more and more over the next few years, you're going to see this generation being a very important kind of buyer profile for you. And they really want to know a founder and they want to know the story behind a brand. So it's really important we start shifting towards this idea because pretty soon they're going to make more and more decisions. And millennials aren't far behind them in this sort of idea as well, which we already know that, a lot of millennials are in their mid 40s right now. They are the decision makers in a lot of spaces. 75% of people say a piece of thought leadership led them to research a product or service they weren't even previously considering. So you can literally convince someone they need something by simply producing really credible thought leadership content. And lastly, I think this is really important too. 82% of buyers say that B2B creator content influences them, and nearly 80% engage with it monthly. That becomes even more powerful when it's somebody who's actually out front of a company that's doing this and are able to engage with those buyers. So these are some overarching results that I have seen from three different client profiles that I used this strategy with. I'm going to walk through the framework I used a little bit here in a few minutes, but these are obviously like the specific social metrics that I saw from this approach. But I'm going to walk you through each person and kind of explain just a little bit about them. So, client number one that I used a founder facing strategy with, he had been hiding behind his logo for a very long time. He was a solopreneur with a couple people on his team, very small team, and yet he is operating as if he is a company. And I thought, this just isn't working. People actually hire him. He's the product, he's the service. He was a very, very like high leveraged communication coach. He worked in huge tech companies. He had really, really big brands that he had worked with, huge contracts, and he was extremely well sought after. And yet you would never know that if you didn't talk to him. His presence did not communicate that whatsoever. And part of it was he wasn't putting himself out there consistently to show who he was and that he could be trusted to be the right guy for the job. We repositioned him out front through video content, appearances. We really worked to make sure that it was his storytelling that was first and foremost. We also really, really worked to make sure that his values and how he actually went about his work was really well showcased and saw incredible results. We actually had to pause work with him for a little bit because he was getting so much traffic and so much interest. He couldn't keep up with the content. So that was kind of an anecdotal thing that was really cool, but saw some great results here. Number two is a little different situation. It was another small business, had a little larger team, probably 10 to 12 employees, and a very uh, big personality founder that really should have been out front the whole time because he was so entertaining and so interesting and so knowledgeable in their space. It's a fractional CFO company, and they served a very high net worth group of people. So these people typically made anywhere from just under $1 million to $5 million a year in income. They would have, multiple businesses, different revenue holdings. They'd have different real estate pieces. They'd have family offices. So it was a lot to manage, and all that to say too, because they were very high leveraged people, they really needed a lot of trust. They really needed to find the person that they trusted. And it wasn't going to be a company and it wasn't going to be a logo. It was going to be a person. When you're dealing with that kind of money, you're not going to just go find some, random small business that's going to take care of your finances. You want to find a person that you feel really connected to. So we repositioned him to be very out front of the business. He quit hiding behind the logo as well. We really put a lot of effort into his personal LinkedIn presence, made sure that he was showing up in video very consistently. Their YouTube was all about him. And we saw some really fantastic results for him as well. And then the last one was really interesting because it was another solopreneur that she was pivoting her business completely. So she had started out as just a software implementer and had been somewhat of a business coach in a very specific niche space of boutique fitness. But she was shifting into the EOS world and wanted to really expand her offering for all kinds of businesses. So one of the things I felt like was really, really important was, again, positioning her as a person so they felt like they could trust her, especially in a shifting time, because her audience didn't necessarily, understand why the shift was happening, especially if it's just this like company that's supposedly shifting. We really needed to put her out front to help the audience understand why she was making the shift and the benefits it could bring to them. And we also saw some great results here. So All that to say, I have seen this work firsthand, hands-on, and this is the framework that I used to do that. It's called Reputation Pillars. Our company actually uses this framework for companies and for large brands as well, but I have adopted it for a founder's personal brand too, and I found it very, very effective. The kind of methodology is there's four different pillars of your online reputation, and when they're all four working really well, together, you can have an incredibly powerful presence for visibility, trust, and opportunity for your business. First one is quality of impression. It's pretty simple. When someone looks you up, what's their first immediate impression of you? They go to your LinkedIn right now. What's the first thing they would think? Is it, man, this person really knows their stuff. They really put out some good stuff, or they haven't posted in 2 years, or when's the last time they updated that headshot? What are the different things that they would actually think? Would they see you as a legitimate option for them? Would they see you as a credible, really like polished person? Or is it like, I don't know, they seem kind of untrustworthy. And also think about the fact that these first impressions people make, they're very quick and they're not always conscious. Sometimes they're subconscious as well. Sometimes you go to one website and it's just kind of clunky and messy, and you're not necessarily thinking this is clunky and messy, but you're like, oh, this is annoying. I don't want to deal with this. And you move on to the next thing. Or, oh, this is beautiful. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're great at what they do, but it lulls you into believing this is a really good option. It's really, really important to make sure that the first impression you want to give is what you're doing digitally, because people will look you up. I mean, I gave the example earlier. We'll see a lead come in for the company and I'll say they've checked me out, within an hour. And I get that. Like, why would they want to spend money with my company, the company that I own, if I'm not a legitimate person? Like, I'm the person behind this business. It makes a lot of sense. So making sure that the first impression that you give is the one that you actually, want to be giving. A few kind of actions that I think you can very quickly take to be able to improve this if you feel like it's not where it needs to be right now. Auditing your visuals. Like I mentioned, what's your cover on LinkedIn look like? What's your profile picture? What about your about page on your website right now? When's the last time that that was updated? Is it up to date with what you actually are doing and who you are, and maybe even more accomplishments that you've had since then? What about your messaging? If you are producing content, is it actually reaching the people that you want it to? Are you actually, drawing in the people that you want to first and foremost? Really important piece there. And do you have a content strategy that you're proud of? This isn't necessarily that every single post that you make doesn't have to be something that's a one-to-one like business decision, but is it something that you're proud of like putting out there that doesn't just like look good, but really connects with the people that you want it to, whether that's, entertaining content or educational or whatever it may be. Second piece is your credibility. Do people understand why you're qualified, or do they just see your title? And I think this is kind of the point around, trust in institutions is down more than ever, but trust in people is up. And that kind of goes along with like titles. I think titles at one point really, really spoke to someone's credibility, but now it's kind of like everybody can have a title. Everybody's a CEO, everybody is an executive, everybody is a leader, but can you actually show what you know? Demonstrated expertise is what actually builds trust. And yes, a lot of times that's done through content production, but it's also through interactions and the places that you show up and the things that you can be a part of, and just showing that you actually know something instead of just saying that you do, or, kind of hiding behind a title. A few actions that you can do pretty immediately to improve this, in my opinion, is sharing unique thought leadership content, being accessible to your audience. And that also might mean, being willing to DM with people. I might be willing to have conversations and be kind of interactive. Networking and collaborating. Social media is obviously a great place to do that. A really easy way to show your credibility there, and to answer prospect questions publicly. I find this is one of the most effective ways to do this, because it kind of peels back the curtain, if you will. If you actually, let's say you create a video where you're like, hey, I got this question this week from somebody. Here's exactly how I answered it. And this is how, I gave them advice. It shows you know what you're talking about, but it also creates an authenticity that people really connect with. The third piece is your authority. Is your voice recognized? Or are you still introducing yourself every time? Authority is when your name actually carries weight and opportunities are coming to you. You're not always having to chase them down. You can do this through a lot of different means, but ultimately having a personal brand as a founder and showing what you are able to do, and then being able to use that and leverage it to be in other spaces, that's what really gives you authority. Credibility is showing what you know. Authority is somebody else giving you their stamp of approval that, yeah, you actually do. What I'm doing right now is an authority play, being a part of Midday Connect. I connected with Spencer and his team last year and I presented, and that was a lot of fun. We had a really good conversation. And then I said, hey, I have something else I'd love to talk about. Like, can I do that? And they said, sure, come back on. And so that's exactly what I'm doing. They're giving me their platform to be able to share something that I am passionate about and excited about that I think can be beneficial to the audience. But they're putting their stamp of approval on me by having me here. And hopefully Spencer doesn't regret that after my presentation. But that's literally what authority is. It's somebody else saying, yeah, come and share your knowledge because we think that you're knowledgeable enough to do so. So a few actions that you can take, that's one example, but partnering with other non-competing thought leaders. Let's say that you are in the financial industry. You may not want to, work with a ton of other financial planners that you might be kind of competing against, but you might want to work with other people who are in like the health space and talk about the connection between health and finance. Like that might be a great, kind of crossover piece. Other people who can lend you their networks and lend you their audience so that you can have more authority from that perspective. Share proof of your success. I just did that a minute ago. I went through 3 different clients. I showed you the results I got from using this exact same strategy. It's not bragging. It's just like, here's the proof. Here's how this worked. Appearing on podcasts, doing talks like this, exploring media features where you can guest blog on things or be in another place in a third party platform that is saying, yes, you're knowledgeable enough to be here. You matter enough to be here. That gives you authority. And then promote the spots you secure. I promoted being on Midday Connect all last week. I did multiple posts around it. I did a post yesterday as I was practicing walking through this presentation. Made a post then. I'll probably talk about it afterwards as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think the founders feel so weird and cringy about promoting their own success or even their own businesses sometimes, but this is actually what breaks through the noise of the typical marketing crap that you're seeing right now. And it's actually what connects with people. Last thing, and this is always the hardest one. Every founder I deal with, everybody that I talk to, this is the easily the most difficult one to get right. But it's your consistency. Do people know what to expect from you? Or are you disappearing and reappearing? Trust is just built over a really long period of time with a lot of consistency. And if you don't have that, you're never going to get there. Clients that I have that are like, I haven't got any traction yet, and I haven't really been able to do this. I'm like, okay, well, what does it really look like from a consistency standpoint? It's, well, I post once or twice a week, but I'm like, when was the last time you actually did that? Well, it was like 2 months ago. And then you show up again for a few weeks and you're really consistent, but then you stop again. I was on a podcast one time a year ago, but I've said no to all the other ones that have come my way since then. And it kind of just creates a flakiness. Well, one, it's not going to give you a significant payout in that consistency and building that trust. It's not going to compound in the same way. And two, people are going to be like, well, I don't really know what to expect from this person. Sometimes they pop up randomly, and sometimes I don't hear about them for weeks. And it just kind of creates a lack of consistency that not only doesn't get you towards the goal of building a personal brand, but actually can kind of harm you as well. Few actions on this, and this is probably stuff that you know. It's not that people don't know these things, it's actually putting them into action. Creating a consistent content publishing schedule, even if that's one time a week, if that's twice a week, whatever you can actually commit to. Building out time for filming and creation. I put it on my calendar like a client meeting because if it's on my calendar and it's on my Google Cal, I cannot miss it. Tuesday mornings are usually that morning for me. I filmed before I got on here. I'm like, I have to stick to it. It's on my calendar. I have to do it. Repurpose intentionally across platforms. You don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. You can take the same concept, make 3 different videos out of it, make 3 different blog posts out of it. All these things could be done. And then engaging with your audience weekly with email that actually comes from you as the founder. I think that is really, really critical. Email is going to only grow in terms of community engagement and involvement. And if it comes directly from you as the founder, it's a really, really potent and powerful way to make sure that you're connecting with the people that you want buying from you. Ultimately, it's time to invest in yourself. That's what I keep telling my clients. That's what I even keep telling myself is that it's really easy to want to hide behind your company. It's easy to say, the company content's enough. It stands on its own. The logo's enough. But it's just simply not. The market has changed significantly. And if you really want to see real results, you have to start investing in your personal brand like your business's growth depends on it. Because honestly, I really believe that it does. So that is everything. I don't know if you want to do Q&A now, Spencer, or I'll turn it back to you.
Yep, we'll do the Q&A. So If you've got a question, you can throw it in the chat. I had one just to get started. Savannah, how do you guide your clients on which platform to begin on? And then is in person a must do when it comes to content creation and relationship building?
Yeah. So the platform is totally dependent on their audience. So it's totally dependent on the industry they're in, the business they have, who they're trying to connect with. So it's going to be completely custom based on all of those things. I would say general rules, if you have a B2B position, it's probably going to be LinkedIn. Although I'm seeing, really, really great, results from a B2B business on YouTube right now. So that's a really important space. But totally depending on who you're trying to connect with and who you actually want to get to buy from you. And then in terms of in person, I think that it doesn't have to be somebody with you creating content in person, but I do think it has to be you actually filming yourself more often than not. You can mix in some virtual podcasts and remote podcast work. You can mix in some recordings like this into your content, but you actually sitting there with your phone, with your device, whatever it is, and actually producing content, that's what is actually going to break through right now. I think with the way AI content is going, if you actually want to be able to break through all of that noise, that becomes a really essential piece.
Very good. Okay, from Hallie, what follow-ups do you find most helpful in terms of timing, format, content?
Follow-ups in
I think towards
terms
the
of,
end you were talking about, posting and then posting on like today you're gonna go and maybe
yes.
reshare or yeah.
Yeah. So if you're going to be at any kind of event, virtual like this, in person, whatever, I think 2 to 3 posts leading up to it with promotion is a good number to kind of fit. Then you have the actual piece that goes out, and then doing at least one more that you follow up with, like had a great time. This is really cool to talk about. If you were on there, I'd love to connect with you, and really just creating a really community oriented kind of piece of it. I find that that's really helpful. I've gotten a lot of connections that ended up being really, really good conversations through things just like this with that method.
Awesome. From Paul, how do you get on the podcasting circuit?
Good question. This is something I'm still honestly like doing organically, and it is a little bit of a pay to play space. I'm not gonna lie, and I've investigated that a good bit. I haven't felt like I wanted to fully go dive in with the kind of resources that you have to. However, I will say one method that I have is whenever I get asked to be on one, I always ask somebody if they'll refer me to be on another one too, if they know anybody who needs guests for their podcast. And I've gotten a lot of opportunities that way. So sometimes it's just asking the question, like, if you know anybody else, that's actually how I got connected with Midday Connect. I was asked to be on somebody's podcast, said, hey, if you know anybody that, does this kind of thing, I'd love to chat with them. And he connected me, and here I am. I asked again to be on here. Spencer allowed me to come back. So sometimes it's just asking the question, honestly.
So, okay, we're tearing through these. Keep adding questions if you've got them. From Adri, do you have thoughts on publishing articles on the LinkedIn newsletter function? I
I
had a
have
question about that
lots,
too.
I have lots of thoughts about it.
Okay,
I
hit
think
us
it
with your
is,
thoughts.
yes, I think that everybody should be doing it 100%. I think it's an incredibly effective tool. LinkedIn loves it. It is one of their favorite features. So if you do it, they really reward you for it. And it's such an easy way to like triple dip your content. So if you think about building out one article, it can be on your blog, it can become your LinkedIn newsletter, and it also can be a straight up email for your current list. The other beautiful part about it is that when people are subscribed to your LinkedIn newsletter, they get an email every time you post a LinkedIn newsletter. So you're actually hitting 2 different email lists really simultaneously with the same content. On top of that, that one newsletter can become all kinds of social posts. It can become videos, or I actually do the opposite way sometimes too. Sometimes I record a long form video. I turn that into the blog or into the LinkedIn newsletter. So I think they're incredibly effective. I really, really love them. I think people really like reading them. They get to stay in platform. They don't have to leave. People tend to have more engagement that way. So I think everybody should have one as long as it's really valuable content. I'll say I think the newsletter has to be a really tactical, problem-solving concept. If it's just like very evergreen or very generic content, it's not going to do well for you. It's just not. It needs to be a very unique, problem-solving position that gives your audience an immediate solution that they can walk away with.
Yeah, I like that. Maybe that gets also to what Paul's saying here. What do you think about polished versus raw versus business versus, that's a lot of verses, Paul. But just polished versus personal when it comes to LinkedIn posting.
So I think all of the above. I think having a mix of all of it is a really, really great way to go about it. And that's what I aim to do. So sometimes I have videos that I'm at my desk using my nice podcast mic and I'm really, polished and nice, super well, like animated videos that are really well edited. And then earlier I filmed some content that I was making coffee while I did it. And it was very rough and it was a very rough edit. It had like some captions on it. And that's about it. So I think also kind of pairing, and the reason was the content that I was filming for that piece was about boring habits that help you build your personal brand. It's all these boring things that you do, but they really compound over time. And so I'm just doing something very normal, like making coffee during that video to kind of give this, like, sort of tying those things together. Whereas other times I'll be really polished. Sometimes I'll use photos of my husband and I about things, like not because, it really has anything to do with it, but because, that's a big part of my life. Or my husband's a college baseball coach also, so I live at a baseball field most of my spring. I'll use photos from that. Like it's part of my life. It's part of who I am. So I think a real combination between very polished, really high quality. So people can see that you can do that, but also show them who you are and there's like a roughness to it. I'll even like leave in mess ups sometimes in videos. Like I'll trip over my words and I'll just leave it because that makes me human. That makes me not an avatar.
Awesome. So I think we've saved Rob's question for the last. How do we book consulting time? Do you have a slide that you can throw up that's got your contact info?
Yeah, yeah. So feel free to reach out to me over um feel free to reach out to me over LinkedIn. Just Savannah Abney on LinkedIn. Actually, I'll drop my link
Awesome.
in the chat for you. You also can just reach out to me at Savannah at thebreezycompany.co. I'll drop that in the chat too for you. I really work with like 4 different programs and I'll show you those very quickly. Sorry, I did not have that.
While you're pulling that up, just the last plug that I'll make for Midday Connect. We're looking for experts in startups, scalers, partnership folks, as well as current active angel investors. So a lot of people are angel investors or have been angel investors that are not currently investing. So we're looking for people who are currently investing and just kind of get their take on the state of being an angel investor today. So if you know anyone, send them our way. Awesome. Saw your LinkedIn profile there,
Uh,
Savannah.
I will show you guys really quickly. I have 4 different ways typically that I work with people. And I'll just go through those really, really quickly. A lot of times we have people who just need like a one-time strategy. Maybe you have an internal team that can produce content for you and that can help you in terms of like appearances and working in the podcast world and all that kind of good stuff. And you really just need a really clear strategy of how to reposition yourself out front for your business and really start building that. A one-time strategy is a perfect kind of way to do that. And I do that for people. That's a pretty easy kind of way to get started. Maybe you have been doing this some, but you're like, I just don't know if I'm doing it as well as I could be. And I do have the resources and I do have the ability to build this stuff out. But again, like I just want help or I want somebody to bounce ideas off of, or I just kind of feel like I'm in a silo by myself and I just want some ongoing coaching. I have that option as well. I also do this for people who have consistently been producing a personal brand and digital presence, but they just want me to check on things like on a quarterly basis, like give me a full audit, give me like a refresh idea, tell me all the things that I should change, give me new content ideas. I can largely kind of execute stuff, but I just want somebody to kind of come in and help me figure out, a few times a year how I can recalibrate. So that's an option. And then I have this one for people who they have never done anything before or they need to start over completely and they need a full brand intensive. And this is just an absolute sprint for 2 months. We do a full brand strategy for your personal brand. We actually give you usable assets, templates, ideas. You get a full content calendar out of it, all kinds of good stuff. So I actually am about to start working with a client just as an example of this one. She is an expert in ADA and disability awareness for corporate companies,
Hmm.
and she is like one of the most forward-leading like experts in the space. But when you go to her website, you would have no clue. Like even though she's on it, You would have no idea how expert and how intelligent this person is and all the awards she's won, all the things that she's able to do. She was telling me on the call last week, she's like, yeah, I'm going to meet with the UN next week and I'm doing this roundtable with all these tech companies and this, that. And I'm like, I would never have any idea because you're not displaying like the incredible like abilities and expertise that you have. So we're actually about to start this one for her in a few weeks to just completely remake her personal brand and to be able to use it for the company to really take it to the next level. So just a few examples there. Like I said, I dropped my LinkedIn and I'll drop my email too. Feel free to reach out and I'll be happy to chat.
Awesome. Thanks, Savannah, for coming and sharing your knowledge. And thanks everyone else for coming and doing our Midday Connect today. We'll see you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.